Hola everyone, welcome to Flexibility Script. I'm very excited to get started back up this year with recording some videos as it's been quite some time since I last was on here. I had some time off to create a little human. And so it really took a lot of energy as the pregnancy was quite complicated, but all things are well, and I'm really excited to be back to being able to share things in the flexibility and mobility world to help everyone move and feel their best. This video today is going to be going into something that helps improve shoulder external rotation, this motion here. Normal ranges of motion for that motion should be 90 degrees or better yet past it, and having good shoulder external rotation really crosses over into a lot of athletic movements in terms of push-ups and pull-ups, and even the way if you're in the gym doing barbell work, if you're setting yourself up in a front squat position with the barbell, having that external rotation is really important to set up your shoulders safely, and also just for shoulder mechanics in terms of safety, having good shoulder external rotation can make quite a difference. So this movement that we'll be doing just involves being on the ground, and it's helpful to have something like a yoga block available to you. Though if you don't have a yoga block, you can use the floor by itself without a block. And then if you wanted to do something with a yoga block but don't have it, having something like a textbook, or I've even done it with a couple of pillows, just something that you're able to push into and pull off of as well. You'll see that as we go into it, there's going to be this pushing and this pulling as we achieve new ranges of motion. And the ranges of motion that we achieve will be very active, meaning your nervous system will be able to have a good hold of accessing those new ranges of motion and actively be able to use them, as opposed to sometimes you'll get into improving something passively with range of motion, but the nervous system doesn't have the ability to access those new ranges if those ranges of motions are not worked right away, especially. So this exercise helps improve that shoulder external rotation motion, and then you'll be able to kind of go right into using it right away as it opens up. All right, so all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting myself up on the ground here, and what I want is I'm going to be doing one arm at a time. For my head position, I'm going to use my fist to keep my head neutral as it's down on the ground, and then this yoga block is just going to be around for use when I need it. So to start off, I'm laying on the ground and my arm's going to be out, elbow lines up with the shoulder, so it's a 90-degree position. My fist is going to be on my forehead, and I'm going to be set up just as so, where my forehead is supported. My forehead is supported by my wrist, and my arm is out at a 90-degree. I'm going to talk it through real quick because the motion that we're going to be doing requires two cues that I always like to give, which is shoulder away from the ear and elbow pushing down into the ground. There's going to be a tendency that when we do this external rotation motion that your elbow may want to come up with you. So already having the shoulder down and that elbow pushing down automatically helps us stay really honest with our shoulder external rotation motion. So to start off, it's really nice to see where you're at to start off. So I'll be coming down, and I'm just going to do 5 lift offs. So lift off meaning coming up off the ground. I'm going to get my forehead on my fist here, and all I'm going to be doing is shoulder away from the ear, elbow pushes down onto the ground, and a lift, pause, and lower. Lift, pause, lower, and I do that three more times. Now, as I do this, when things are a little bit limited in range of motion, I may find that I can only do this type of range, and that's okay. Even if I'm not even lifting, even if it's just that, that's always great to start off with. Just having the energy there to be able to pull back is important. I have a good amount of shoulder external rotation, and so I can start the motion by putting myself up on the block. But if I was to be limited and that my liftoffs involved it looking something like that, all is okay. I would just be using the floor to push off with. But those 5 liftoffs, kind of looking to see where I start off, and depending on where that liftoff is, I can usually see if I can place my yoga block on it. If I didn't have my yoga block, I would just stay pushing into the ground to get the exercise started. But what's going to happen here, I'm going to place so that the base of my wrist is right on the yoga block. So instead of me just pushing down with my fingertips and hands, my wrist will be more supported, and I can push down with my fist and my wrist into the block. What's going to happen with this technique is we're going to go through 3 rounds of pushing and lifting off the yoga block, and then depending on how high the lift off is will determine if whether or not maybe we progress to this range of motion or this, or maybe we just stay on the ground. Doesn't matter where, as long as you're able to push and pull and have an improvement in range of motion as you're going through it. So what's going to happen here, I'm right here, and as I get started, my goal is going to be to push down into the yoga block, ramping up the intensity every single time and holding for 5 seconds at the highest intensity. After that, my goal is going to be to try to lift off the yoga block and hold that for 5 seconds. So what it looks like, I'm going to be laying down, same position, hand on my fist, and what's going to happen here is I'm going to be shoulder away from the ear, elbow pushes into the ground. I'm going to begin pushing down into the yoga block 10%. Then I'm going to ramp it up to 20. Then I'm going to ramp it up to 30. And I'm going to hold that 30% intensity for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly ramp it back down. Now from here, shoulder away from the ear, elbow pushes down. I'm going to lift off the yoga block and hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! And relax. Now, depending on how high I lifted would determine whether or not I stay here with the yoga block in this position or whether I move the yoga block up a little higher. I'm going to keep it in this position for the next round and do the same thing, shoulder away from the ear, elbow pushes down, and I begin pushing down into the yoga block 10%, then 20, 30, and now 40%. Now with this 40%, if I had someone here trying to physically move the yoga block, they wouldn't be able to take it from me. Hold that 40 for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to slowly ramp it back down to 0. And now the same thing, shoulder away from the ear, elbow pushes down. I'm going to try to lift off as high as I can. I'm going to hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Again, depending on where you left off, you can keep the yoga block, but I know on that one I was able to lift off enough to have the yoga block at the next level up. Now, same thing, this is going to be our last time going through this. So to come down, shoulder away, elbow away from the shoulder away from the ear, elbow pushes into the ground, and now begin pushing down into the yoga block 10%. You'll ramp it up to 20, to 30, to 40, woo-wee, to 50%. Hold that 50% for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly ramp it back down. From here, shoulder away, elbow pushes down. I try to lift off that block. Hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Now after that round 3 of that pushing and pulling, so every round I ramped it up in intensity. So the first round was at 30% a maximum. Then the second time I did the pushing, I ramped it up to 40, and then round 3 was at 50% pushing down energy. And then once I finish every single round, I finish by holding a lift off for 5 seconds. So I did that 3 times through. Now to finish everything all together, I'm going to go back to the very first thing that I started, which is just a lift off. So I'm going to be same position, forehead supported by my fist, shoulder away from my ear, elbow pushes down, and then lift off, pause, and control down. Again, lift off, and down. So I'm going for 5 repetitions, so that way my brain can now understand, ooh, I just improved this range of motion actively and I want to start trying to use it. And you'll notice a difference from where you started to where you finished, in that range of motion should very much improve from where we started on the first 5 liftoffs to where we are right now on these last 5 liftoffs. When you're done, you can always come up to like a kneeling position, and sometimes you can physically see a difference in your shoulders, possibly being a little bit more relaxed away from the ears. And the way they usually feel is they usually feel worked. So you should feel like all the muscles of the rotator cuff were really working to do that lift off. Supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor were those ones that were really contracting to let you lift off in that external rotation. So it both helps with strengthening the rotator cuff muscles and improving shoulder external rotation at the same time, making it a huge improver and strengthener and helper of shoulder ranges of motion, as that external rotation is really important in a lot of athletic activities and just overall daily life. So give it a try, and I hope it helps and that you see that improvement in range of motion. And there's more to come in the future.